Another reason to be wary of relying on online tools for your machine learning and data science work. Google bans deepfake generating from AI from Collab. They ban deepfakes. They are banning deepfakes on Collab. Google has banned the training of AI systems that can be used to generate deepfakes on its Google Collaboratory platform. Free and paying Collab users access to
came for our deepfakes and I said nothing. Why don't oysters donate to charity? Because they're shellfish.
Oh my god. User open source deepfake generator Deepfake-Lab became aware of the terms of use change last week when several received an error message after attempting to run Deepfake-Lab in Collab. The warning read, "You may be executing code that is disallowed. This may restrict your ability to use Collab in the future. Please note the prohibited actions specified in our FAQ." This suggests enforcement is a blacklist rather than keyword-based. Deepfakes can be harmless, even entertaining, as countless viral videos have shown, but they're increasingly used by hackers to target social media users in extortion and fraud schemes where nefariously they've been leveraged in political propaganda, for example, to create videos of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky giving a speech about the war in Ukraine that he actually never gave. This is quite the wild one. Not to like go completely off track, but are we talking about Google, the place that removed their ethics, data and ethics lead and dissolved their data and ethics committee? Are we talking about that, Google? Deepfakes have a large potential to run counter to Google AI's principles. We aspire to be okay. Yeah, fucking okay. I get it. So here's my thoughts, y'all. First, back to the tweet. This is interesting. I believe it sets a dangerous precedent. So I think you could do two things and still have the right answer, right? Like, you can do things for the social good, especially in terms of open tools, right? Like, Midjourney in their beta, they did everything through a Discord, and they still do things through a Discord. The reason they chose a platform like Discord to have as their UI is because the social policing and the active moderation that you can have when your platform is literally based in a social platform, right? The ability to police socially good and bad actors is important. And it's important for a company like Midjourney who's creating generative art, right? When you're creating things that allow you to create whatever the hell art you want, including things that are perhaps unsavory, right? Like, I could say all sorts of crazy types of things you could probably gen art, but I'm not. You could probably Google like crazy gen art and you'll see what crazy fucking people have done. So there does exist a tool where in the realm of its openness, in the realm of its open beta release, it also had open policing. It also had what TechCrunch was describing as, TechCrunch was describing and people they interviewed were describing as like a good step towards policing the ethical responsibility when you have, or when you release, or when you maintain open tools. And I think that's true, right? There is something to be said about a company that allows for a wide array of creation, but also a company that tries to limit bad actors. When the early days of Collab, when they initially released Collab, and it was based around like, you have access to a limited amount of GPU, there were a lot of people who were going on trying to mine Bitcoin with it, right? And so they would create all these like VPN pseudo accounts, mine Bitcoin at a mass volume, and then like Collab had nothing, like they didn't do anything about it until the next like TOS update, which then said, if we catch you mining Bitcoin, you will have your account banned, right? So, which that is a part of the TOS as well. Like, you cannot mine Bitcoin in Collab, and that was something that happened before. And no, for whatever reason, no one has said anything about, oh hey, mining Bitcoin, that sets a dangerous precedent. We can't mine Bitcoin anymore. Who's going to use this well? you can't mine Bitcoin anymore, and everyone uses the platform, right? So so in this case, if this is setting a quote unquote dangerous precedent, if there's a dangerous precedent of not being able to create the things you want to create, well, that precedent has been created already. Like, some would argue that mining Bitcoin is probably, in a lot of ways, less nefarious than deep faking someone's face onto something and then blackmailing them. Because you could do both at some point in time in Collab equally, right? And so if you're essentially saying, hey, we just don't want to support anything that takes over our resources for relatively nefarious purposes, then that's fine. It's your product, and it's your choice to create an open source doctrine, an open source policy that also says we don't want to be a part of whatever the bad side is going to be a part of. We don't want to influence or be a part of the development process of people who want to use our tools for nefarious purposes, for bad purposes, for evil purposes. We don't want to do that. And for me, I think that's fine. But there does still exist that idea that, is this a precedence that gets it? What is good and bad? Who is deciding what's good and bad? Well, Google is deciding what's good and bad. Is there a point in which good and bad can have some lines drawn where it's like, well, I don't see that as bad, but now we're banned doing it? Like, for instance, in the NFL open data community, it's not necessarily a bad thing to bet using the models that you create based off the data provided. In fact, some of that is encouraged. But are we encouraging gambling? Are we encouraging gambling for students who are learning about these things, and we have open Vegas odds inside of these open data repositories? Is that a responsibility that the data community in the NFL should be representing and maybe separating? Yes, why not? I don't know why not. Maybe gambling for children isn't something that you want to expose children to at an early age if you're using NFL data as a source for educating how to learn how to code with something that, they might be used to, like American football. I've never made money gambling, that's true. No one has. Most people don't. But that's what I'm saying. Like, gambling addiction exists, and creating any avenue towards experiencing or being influenced by the dangers of gambling at all maybe is like an ethical boundary, right? Is that an ethical boundary for people? I don't know. Maybe. Is deepfakes an ethical boundary for people? Seemingly yes. Is Bitcoin mining an ethical boundary for people? Maybe. What are ethical boundaries? Who's setting them? So, I think there are interesting takes here, and you could be right on both sides. You can both think, again, I think it is good that Google Collab team is creating a policy that says don't use this stuff for bad reasons. I think that's good. And I also do think it does set more of a precedent that if something is against what Google overall likes, then they do have a right to say, we don't want that kind of stuff on our platform. And they may cross the line at some point. They may. And I don't know when that point is. I don't think I'm ever going to be a part of that group. But they might. You're also probably limiting liability. Absolutely, right? Again, if you are not the place that is contributing towards Bitcoin mining, if you're not the place that's contributing towards deep fake creation, right? If you're not the place that is involved with the development of DDoS attacks, then yeah, these are like good things overall to not be liable for. Like, well, you have a tool that allows us to do this. Well, no, we don't anymore. Our policy says we're against this, and when we find it, we shut it down, So I get that. I think it could be both ways. I think it could be both a good thing, and also like Who knows if this does create precedence for potentially a bad thing in the future. For now, the short-term reward is good. We'll see what the long-term benefit says in the future.